and I certainly wish you'd read it. You'd like it. You can borrow it if you want to." "Why, I'd like it a lot, thanks." "Don't you want to come up to the room? I've got a few other books." Amory hesitated, glanced at the St. Paul's group. One of them was the magnificent Exquisite Humbird, and he considered how determinate the addition of this friend would be. He never got to the stage of making them and getting rid of them. He was not hard enough for that. So he measured Thomas Parke D'Invilliers' undoubted attractions and value against the menace of cold eyes behind tortoise-rimmed spectacles that he fancied glared from the next table. "Yes, I'll go." So he found Dorian Gray, and the mystic and sombre Dolores, and the Belle Dame sans Merci. For a month was keen on naught else. The world became pale and interesting, and he tried hard to look at Princeton through the satiated eyes of Oscar Wilde and Swinburne, or Fingal O'Flaherty, and Algernon Charles, as he called them in précieux jest. He read enormously every night Shaw, Chesterton, Barrie, Pinero, Yeats, Synge, Ernest Dowson, Arthur Symons, Keats, Sudermann, Robert Hugh Benson, the Savoy operas, just a heterogeneous mixture, for he suddenly discovered that he had read nothing for years. Tom D'Invilliers became at first an occasion rather than a friend. Amory saw him about once a week, and together they gilded the ceiling of Tom's room and decorated the walls with imitation tapestry bought at an auction, tall candlesticks and figured curtains. Amory liked him for being clever and literary without effeminacy or affectation. In fact, Amory did most of the strutting and tried painfully to make every remark an epigram, than which, if one is content with ostensible epigrams, there are many feats harder. 12 Univet was amused. Carrie read Dorian Gray and simulated Lord Henry, following Amory about, addressing him as Dorian, and pretending to encourage in him wicked fancies and attenuated tendencies to ennui. When he carried it into Commons, to the amazement of the others at table, Amory became furiously embarrassed, and after that made epigrams only before D'Invilliers or a convenient mirror. One day Tom and Amory tried reciting their own and Lord Dunsany's poems to the music of Carrie's gramophone. "Chant!" cried Tom. "Don't recite. Chant!" Amory, who was performing, looked annoyed, and claimed that he needed a record with less piano in it. Carrie thereupon rolled on the floor in stifled laughter. "Put on Hearts and Flowers!" he howled. "Oh, my Lord, I'm going to cast a kitten!" "Shut off the damn gramophone!" Amory cried, rather red in the face. "I'm not giving an exhibition." In the meanwhile Amory delicately kept trying to awaken a sense of the social system in D'Invilliers, for he knew that this poet was really more conventional than he, and needed merely watered hair, a smaller range of conversation, and a darker brown hat to become quite regular. But the liturgy of Livingstone collars and dark ties fell on heedless ears. In fact, D'Invilliers faintly resented his efforts, so Amory confined himself to calls once a week, and brought him occasionally to 12 Univet. This caused mild titters among the other freshmen, who called them Dr. Johnson and Boswell. Alec Connage, another frequent visitor, liked him in a vague way, but was afraid of him as a highbrow. Carrie, who saw through his poetic patter to the solid, almost respectable depths within, was immensely amused, and would have him recite poetry by the hour, while he lay with closed eyes on Amory's sofa and listened. "Asleep? Or waking is it? For her neck kissed over close wears yet a purple speck wherein the pained blood falters and goes out. Soft, and stung softly, fairer for a fleck." "That's good," Carrie would say softly. "It pleases the elder Holliday. That's a great poet, I guess." Tom, delighted at an audience, would ramble through the Poems and Ballades until Carrie and Amory knew them almost as well as he. Amory took to writing poetry on spring afternoons, in the gardens of the big estates near Princeton, while swans made effective atmosphere in the artificial pools, and slow clouds sailed harmoniously above the willows, May came too soon, and suddenly unable to bear walls, he wandered the campus at all hours through starlight and rain. Part 1, Chapter 2